Last year I had a stroke at like 30 years old. I was like working so much.
I think because we're playing with the chance that, yeah, we can change billions of people's lives if we get it right, we can also make billions of pounds.
ClIQ, founded by Jason Iliffe and Nicola Gunby, helps people reconnect in real life. Built in 5 weeks and backed by £500,000 of investment, it's grown to 100,000 users, hosted activations with Samsung and Gails, and was named one of the UK's fastest growing founder-led companies.
Right now is like ours to lose.
So we wanted to just create this really authentic platform that obviously solves this massive loneliness crisis. So we turn on the news and stats are going up, mental health, depression, loneliness constantly.
We need it, right? That's the biggest thing. It's like, we need connection. Obviously the pandemic just like starved us of it. I spoke to some VCs before we even launched. And they're like, so let me just tell you how this goes. It's millions and millions and millions of pounds. Then you need millions of users to make it work. Our advice is like, you hire slow and you fire really fast. So as soon as you get that gut feeling, it's like, this is not right, it has to go.
Right, so we like to always start by looking at the problems that you guys are trying to solve. So with ClIQ, what problems were you trying to solve and how do you solve it?
Yeah, so when we started ClIQ, it was very much a personal problem for both of us. We moved to London about 3 years ago now, and when we moved, we wanted to meet new people. We downloaded all the apps out there and realised that not a lot of the apps are social. We're consuming media, we're scrolling through our phones, we're addicted to it. We're not actually actively meeting people. And on one side, there was apps like dating app style apps for friends, which feels very transactional, not authentic. On the other side, there's like Facebook groups and Meetup, which are so outdated, full of spam. Like 100,000 people in one group and someone's like trying to sell their furniture, all these different things. It's not a community. So we realized that there was a need for an app that allowed people to easily meet people, but also at the same time notice this massive rise in communities and nowhere for them to exist. So we created a platform that solves both of those issues.
I think that's basically it. It's like everyone knows that the next social app is going to be a mixture between online and offline. It's not going to be one or it's not going to be the other. And then if you go to the end user, which is like loneliness, let's connect people. That's the whole mission. But to solve that first, you need to solve the community founder, and that's like the run club, the sub club founder. What are they using? They're using like 4 or 5 different apps. WhatsApp, Discord for their chats, Eventbrite for their tickets, social platforms for their marketing. So we was like, if we can solve their problem, first, I can get my first 10,000 users by pitching to 100 people instead of pitching 10,000. So we pitched to them, they came over, they brought the users, they kept them sticky. And that's just like a super, like 10,000 users, 5 weeks, breaking the app every single day. Just like by doing 10 outreach, basically. It was just like really wild, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think as well, everyone's talking about community now. So every brand, every influencer, like you go on LinkedIn and I guarantee 1 out of 5 posts about community. Well, no one was doing anything to solve this issue of where communities exist. But then in return, we're also solving the issue of us downloading the app, looking for things, and we find the communities and we find the events. And it's so much easier for people to meet in social settings than go on like a one-on-one friend date.
Yeah.
If you go to a run club or a book club, but you're super shy, you don't know what to talk about, you can talk about the book, you can talk about the run. It really opens conversations. So we wanted to just create this really authentic platform that obviously solves this massive loneliness crisis. So we turn on the news and stats are going up, mental health, depression, loneliness constantly. None of the social apps are doing anything to solve it. But then we were like, there's also a massive piece for these community leaders. So kind of looking after 2 customers.
So is the emphasis of ClIQ, is it in real life or is it like creating somewhere that's online that's also a safe space to speak?
Mixture of both. A lot of it is how do we get people out from behind the phone? How do we get them meeting new people and make it really easy for them to do so? We do also have online communities, and we have a lot of communities that are maybe like more support groups. So we have one called Unmasked, which is for people with neurodivergency. She's an influencer that started it. She's got her own book and everything, she's amazing, but she needed a place for all of her followers to exist within a community. So she started this online community. She had it probably about 3 months, and then she decided to do an in-person event, whereas in-person events weren't really a thing at the beginning, but she realised that the people in this group were craving it. So I think it can start as online, but I think it always ends up transitioning offline in some form.
It's just through communities, right? That's the biggest keyword of like 2024 was like, everyone's talking about community, it was just a buzzword. And then when you look at this is, actually let me go back a step. 2 years ago, maybe bringing a community app to the market is too early. Right now is like ours to lose. 2 years later, someone's already met the market. This is it. Like, in social platforms, every 7 years, it was like Facebook started it, then it was TikTok, then it was media. Like, none of these feeds now you see are your friends, the brands, the influencers. We're not connecting. So for us now is we're going back, the pendulum swifted to like connection, and we believe it's through communities. And that's what we're trying to like do, is like, it's a mixture between online and offline, but our like secret sauce is like, you got to get communities. That's like the driver.
So for people at home who are watching this who haven't got the app yet, can you just explain like what it actually looks like? If I were to download the app now, I'm not part of any community. I don't even know what kind of community I want to join. What does that look like for me?
Yeah, so you download the app, you pick from maybe 300 interests, whether it's, you can go down to niche like rock music, matcha, like boxing, like fiction books, everything. What it will then populate is a near me section on the app. So that will populate communities, events, and people related to your interests, which means everyone around this table could open up the app and have completely different app experiences depending on their age, gender, and interests. That's the key. So you connect online. Maybe I join a tennis community, then I see events related to that community, and that's how I connect. Because for us now is, you brought a ticket on Eventbrite and these ticketing platforms, right? And between you buying that ticket and turn up to the event, so much happens. Who's going? Have they sold other tickets? And if I'm going alone, like it's tough, right, to walk into a room alone. What happens on ClIQ is you build a community first, so you know who the people are. Maybe it's an interest, maybe it's a support group like Unmasked. Then the product is sold, which can be the event. You already know who's going to be there because it's the community. You get to see who's going. So there's everyone profile pictures. And there's a chat before. So we'll see that a lot of females will ask, what are you wearing? And they feel more comfortable. Or we're going to, does anyone want to go and get a drink before we go to this run? Like no one wants to walk alone. So it's like creating a community before, you have the experience, then they filter back into the community. So it's like a 360, and that's kind of like ClIQ in a whole.
Yeah, and every feature we build, it's like thinking about how does this benefit the community, or how does this help someone to really push themselves out of their comfort zone? Because we all know, like Jason said, how hard it is to go to something on your own and be chucked in a room full of strangers. But every feature that we build, it makes someone feel so much more comfortable to do so, because you're getting the full picture of what you're getting yourself in for. And people come back again because they've had the best experience, but it's because you facilitate that relationship for them.
We need it, right? Like that's the biggest thing. It's like we need connection, and we've been like, obviously the pandemic just like starved us of it. And now I'll give you a better example. So like my sister's like 21, she's in that area of like, she's grown up with TikTok, she's like fully involved in that. Facebook's not cool because her grandparents on it. Like she's the type of person where she's lost like social connection, where she'll turn up to our house and text me she's outside the door. She won't knock. And like these feel like small things, but what it is over time is that they've lost that in-person connection, confidence to like maybe go up to someone in a bar or go and say hello to someone or say good morning. Like they've literally lost it, and now they're like trying to find it. And that's what like ClIQ's trying to do, is like really like ease them in through communities. So you find your people. When you go to the event, you know it's going to be your tribe, let's say.
If you've taken something from this, an insight you've used or could have used to refine, design or scale your business, hit subscribe.
Ironically, because this is free, most people won't.
Studies show that if we charged even £1, you'd be more likely to take action because you'd feel the value.
But we don't do that. So if this helped you, that one click of support helps us to keep doing it and continue delivering business insights every week.
Nice. Okay. Gosh, a small problem to take on then. You know?
Yeah.
Just reconnecting the nation and then the nations after that.
Why not?
So then you have your problem, the task you want to take on. But as I understand, the two of you are a couple, co-founders as well, which makes you like the holy grail of the hardest type of business to set up. Can you take us back to deciding to launch this business, and you know what things you might have considered before you decided, actually, let's launch this business together? And Nicola, could you answer that, please?
Yeah, so we had a previous business before, which was a beauty tech platform. It was a marketplace for freelance beauty professionals. We started that when we were, let's say, very young and naive. We moved to Australia for a couple of years, didn't know what we wanted to do with our lives. Was like, let's pack up, go to the other side of the world. I was a makeup artist, struggled to get any work, came up with this concept, and we just went for it. Came back to the UK with it, had it for 3 years, and it got an acquisition, which was such an amazing journey. Learned so much, so many lessons, was so proud of what we did. And then afterwards, we were like, right, what do we want to do now? Obviously, had those issues of moving to London, wanting to meet people, all of that kind of thing. We went away again. So we wanted to do some traveling. We were going to go away for like 6 months to a year. Ended up being like 4 weeks, but we went to Bali. Very cliche, I know. Went to Bali to figure out what we wanted to do next. And whilst we were out there, we were just, I don't know, it kind of opens up your eyes when you're out traveling. You don't have anything to really think about. Like the biggest decision is like where we're going to go tonight, what we're going to do. And just thinking about this idea over and over, and it was something that was just keeping us up at night. And we wanted something to do at the time. So like, okay, let's play around with it. I think we're both very entrepreneurial and can't really sit down for too long without doing something. And basically, Jason went to one calf and I went to another. And he was like, why don't I design some app screens? Previous experience from the business before, and why don't you go and like design a brand and see what you come up with?
I asked you for like 5 brand names, right?
Yeah.
I was like, come back with like 5 names, 5 different colours, whatever. And I was like, let's see what we have in like an hour. And she's like, calls back like, oh, let's come back. I was like, yeah, I've got something pretty good. And we came back and it was like an hour and a half later. And she said, before I start, I've registered the trademark and brought the domain. I was like, how many have you got? Just went, I've just got one.
Just one option. That's all we're going with, just the one option.
And it just had like 3
You'll love it.
like pages, and it was just at the beginning it was called the ClIQ, and then we dropped the
like off the Facebook.
Unbelievable.
A social network.
Justin
movie.
Timberlake got you as well.
Yeah, we watched that a few months after. We were like, we need to get rid of that. But it just came together so easy. And I think, obviously, we'd done it before, so it felt like we could very easily do it again. When we first had the first business, we didn't really know if we'd work well together. We'd never really done anything like that together before. We travelled together for 3 years. We'd been together every single day for 3 years. Knew that we could go into something together. And then with that, realised how well we actually worked together. And Jason's very much product and tech. I'm more brand and marketing, that's where our skills are. And just bringing it together, it felt like fate. We were like, how has this happened so easy? Some people have a business idea and they sit down and it takes days and days and days and to even come up with a logo or a name or anything. And like, it just felt so right.
But that's also, I think, second time founders, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think when we look back to our first business, it did take us a month to like draw up things.
Yeah.
Where being the second time founder, like, I would always be worried about putting a terrible product out because I'd be like, oh my God, it needs to be 110%. Now, ClIQ, when we launched it, was terrible, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was a web view app. It barely even worked. And all it was like, we're going to build something super cheap, super small, super fast. And if it works, we'll build something else.
Yeah.
And then we was like, okay, we've proved that hypothesis. We're going to build again. And it was really like small bricks
Yeah.
over time.
So after Bali, we were like, let's fly home. I think we were away for 4 or 5 weeks.
Which kind of, I don't know if I like, not regret, but like we were going to take a year off. And 4
Which
weeks later,
sounds nice at this moment in time.
It does.
and we cancel our flights and like, book new flights and come
Let's
out.
just go back because we just had this like burning desire to start something again. And I think when you have an idea, you got to go for it.
I mean, you guys have got a great situation in that you complement each other's skill
Yeah.
sets. So it works for you guys to couple together. And I think, you know, for the people listening who are thinking about starting a business, if you're able to start a business with your significant other, that's actually a bit of a superpower
Yeah.
because you're under the same roof a lot of the time. You can work antisocial hours, you can bounce ideas off each other and stuff like that. Jason, if there's a chap out there listening to your story, what advice might you give him before he sets up a business with his significant other?
Wow. Don't get me wrong, like every single co-founder relationship I know, like actually every business I know that is split up is co-founder issues. It's never been capital, it's never been this decision, it's been co-founder. And we always say this thing is that in business, it is 24/7. So yes, you need to be business aligned, but more importantly, you need to be life aligned.
Yeah.
So if you have a co-founder that's in their early 20s and willing to take super risk, and you have a co-founder, let's say late 20s, when they start moving through their life, they're going to start thinking about, okay, maybe I need to take some money off the table. And the different risks in that is so, it starts to like build up, tensions start to build, and then you go like that. Like for us, our life is very aligned because we know what we both want. I wouldn't go out like waving the flag, like go and start businesses with your partner because it is hard, right? Like we just never ever turn off, but we love it. But yeah, I think the number one thing, like you need trust, you need complementary skills. And then I suppose like the best thing about being in a couple is that you share the highs and you share the lows. So like one of the best stories we have is in our first business, we were struggling to raise capital, and I'm not joking, it was terrible. Like, bearing in mind, I've never done a pitch deck before. We were pitching like maybe 3 or 4 times a day for like £150,000 at 1.5 million. It was getting no's. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think I'm coming to the end of it. So we used to go this walk near my parents' house, and it was like 40 minutes. It was like every time we had a terrible time, so we'd go there. And I was going there to tell her, like, I think I'm done. And she was like, no, like, we're going to do it. And then she said this like thing, it was like, you know, when we make it, we're going to love it. We're going to look back and we're going to love it. Like, she was saying this thing, when we make it, we'll love it. We sat on this bench, and at the side of the bench, scribbled in the thing, is that love it when you made it. Like,
We'd sat on that bench
this
like
is
100
like,
times.
it's
our screensaver on both of our phones.
Yeah, look,
because
really.
it's just like,
this is
just that motivation that keeps you going.
so look, like,
Someone had wrote that.
so we went back.
Fresh as well.
We went back 3 months later, and that had faded, like, you can't see it. So like, maybe that happened a day or two before we didn't know. I seen that. I just went, I'm in. Next week we raised 400,000, so doubled what we did. And that next week, so that was Sunday. Next week we had like 3 offers, and then we got a partial acquisition on the Friday.
It was crazy.
So if you weren't in a couple,
Yeah,
you
'cause
wouldn't have
that
been sat
moment
on that
would
bench
be-
having a romantic moment
Yeah.
to have that.
But also,
inspiration.
like, being a solo founder, I have friends that are solo founders. I just know how hard it is because you don't have anyone to turn to that gets it. Your friends aren't going to get it, and your partner's going to get it, not going to get it. Yeah, they're going to be supportive, but if you come out at the end of the day, like, I think I want to quit, I've had an awful day, like, they can't resonate as much. They can motivate you, but they're not the ones in the business that know everything. So I think having a co-founder that is also your partner, like, the level, like, the relationship that you have is so different.
Yeah. I also think it's human nature for, not in like a oppositional way, but you know, when one person comes to one person and says, I'm feeling a certain way, it's very common for the other person to try and pick them up. You know, you don't, if someone says, I'm feeling sad, and they go, yeah, your life is pretty terrible. You know, it doesn't usually work like that. You know, they say, actually, no, it's not so bad. And,
Yeah.
and you know,
so true.
it means something when that person is in the trenches with you. So that's why having a co-founder, because, you know, your mum will always tell you everything's chipper, but like, what does she know?
Yeah.
So, you know, the reality is when you have a teammate, they can sort of pick you up. And I'm going to move on to something slightly more boring and talk about your finances when you started this business. Now, I know you guys perhaps in a unique position coming off the back of an acquisition, but in all businesses, when they start, you always have a limited budget, right? You haven't got an infinite amount of money. So I just would love to know how you guys decided to manage that limited budget. Where did you spend it, and why did you spend it there? Jason, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it was going to be like a year traveling, right? Just like go and enjoy life and then figure out our next steps. You had like a couple of companies coming to you to like do some like work, fractional work to like help them build their companies. And then we're just like, we just have to do this. We just like, for us is like, if we have an idea and we play it out, the biggest risk is not doing it. So even if like we try it and it doesn't work, like I'm happy to like, okay, that was done. So we had no choice once we had it. We kind of have this thing now. It's like, look, like you said we were going to do it. We have to go and do it now. So yeah, we had some money after the acquisition, and we were telling our parents we're going to put all this back in, and we're not like going to go and get a house or like, and they were like, no, like let's just sit down. Let's be safe. Like, think about it. Like, you've just done something. You're going to go and risk it all again. I was like, yeah, we're going to go and risk it all again. And it was like, they literally like tried to call us like every other day. It's like, no.
Yeah.
But they already knew we were already doing it. So we found, I called up my friend and I was like, look, what do you think to this idea? Pull it apart. Like, tell me if we're stupid, because the social app is like hard to build. And I sent it to like 3 or 4 people. And it was like, you sent it to 3 or 4, and it was just like, you know what, this is pretty good. Like, why don't you, like, my friend went, I'll come in and build it for you. I have an app agency business. I'll take the equity. So I was like, cool, let's do that. So we got the very, very bones of it. And then we found like an ex-Apple Disney guy who was like highly recommended. He sold us the dream and he had a great resume. And we started working with him. 3 months down the line, it was all great. And then it was just like terrible. So yeah, invested heavy money into him and then decided to part ways at the beginning. But really just, yeah, backing ourselves. We didn't take any external investment until we like 24.
Yeah,
after we had the product
we
in
waited
market.
until we launched to get investment. And when I'd say like founders come to me and say like, how do I start? How do I build an app? Because it's so expensive. It's like, if you can find someone to build it for equity, it's a really good option in them really early days where maybe you don't have those tens of thousands of pounds to spend on it. And then you can get someone that's really invested as well along for the journey. And you can do like equity deals and then promise them a salary when you raise, all these different things. There's so many terms that you can do. It's really hard to find those people. I think you need someone that's been doing it for a long while, maybe been some form of exit, maybe like had a really big corporate job and then had a payout or something like that. So they're covered because obviously they need to pay their bills. If you can find someone that's willing to take that risk with you, then that makes it so much easier to start.
I mean, limited budget's an interesting one for you guys because maybe you had a slightly bigger budget than other businesses out there, but the type of business you've chosen to launch, they're tricky businesses to generate revenue with in the early days, right? So you've got to look at your early budget from two different ways. Like, what do we spend it on and how do we make it last until we're actually earning revenue or we've got the KPIs to raise money, right? I presume.
That is like the perfect thing that every investor said to us, right? Like I've spoke to some VCs before we even launched and like some investors and they're like, so your plan is you're going to create a social app, you're going to get to 1 million users, then you can do ad revenue, right? And I was like, oh yeah, like,
we must be crazy.
And then they're like, oh okay, so let me just tell you how this goes. It's millions and millions and millions of pounds. Then you need millions of users to make it work, and brands are not going to do that. So like, why are you even thinking? And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So like, we was like thinking, realistically, we're going to have to get 1 million users, burn our own cash, and then hopefully brands will pay us. So then we was like, okay, there's got to be better ways to generate money. And then we started to look at, okay, how can we generate really fast, like capital and not spend any money on marketing to prove everything we said to investors. So like, it was like, how are you going to cold start? How are you going to get your first 100, 10,000, 1,000? How are you going to get 100 users? If you get them, how are they going to stick around? And it's like, okay, you think like, how am I going to do that? Then you look at like Reddit, what they did, like they create like fake forums and the founders were posting there, and Snapchat back in the day were like creating, like it's just wild. We just kind of did top and bottom approach and did it really easy. And it was like proving like the next phase is, can you get them to stick around? Okay, that happened. Now, how do we monetize? And we've done like 3 pillars, which was like, are people willing to move away from ticketing platforms? Yes. Subscription platforms, yes. And then now it's like brand deals. So our brands with it.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, because this brings us nicely onto our chapter of first customer acquisition or first user acquisition in your guys' case. So Nicola, take me back if you can to a point where the first concept, the first MVP of your app is now live, it's now working in its bare bones structure, and you receive your first user download. What did that feel like, and what advice would you give to other people as to what's most important to get to that point?
Yeah, so when we first had the idea for ClIQ, one of the main kind of like things we wanted to target was students. That was in our mind. We were like, this is going to be a student app. So we spent the whole of summer, 6 weeks, speaking to students, speaking to societies, speaking to universities. Like, okay, perfect. We've got this massive waiting list of students who want to join the app. Obviously, tech is delayed all the time. So we actually end up launching after Freshers Week. I think it was a couple of weeks after. We were still like, no, we can still get the students, Came to that launch day. We had a decent amount of sign-ups from these students, but we also realized we'd massively missed the mark with students because they'd already like found their halls, made their friends, done their nights out, all of that kind of stuff. Like they're in lectures and they weren't really as bothered about a social app that was for universities. So like, okay, we've got these however many users on here. What are they interested in? What are they doing? What groups are they creating? And we noticed that they were creating groups that weren't societies or university focused. They were creating like a run club that anyone could join in the city. And we're like, okay, let's follow this trend because we realized so quickly we need to pivot. If we kept going for that student demographic and hitting that wait list, we'd get no sign-ups. No one would be joining.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this information that you're dealing with at the time, are you learning that from the information you're gleaming from the sign-ups that you're receiving on your app, or from customer feedback directly?
A bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both. A lot of feedbacks. We're going back to these students on the waiting list, being like, why haven't you signed up? They're like, oh, can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? Like, just wasn't the right demographic for us. We wanted people that were like hungry for the app, going to use the app. So we noticed this community trend, and then we're like, okay, let's go after community leaders, speak to them, see what they're currently using, what they like, what they don't like, what do they think about the app. We had like 3 features at that point. It was very, very basic. We just wanted to get it in front of them. And then we're like, okay, this is something that they need. Let's build it for them. So I'd say like our first users came from a bit of a mistake, but we still have those users today, because university students don't just want to do what's at university. They want to meet other people from other universities and do things in the area. So we've still got those users today, but our main user was that community leader. Get them to love ClIQ, get them to love us as founders, what we're doing in the mission. And at that point in time, it was pretty much myself and Jason and the team and the developers. So we were so front facing. I was like, if we build these really strong relationships with the community leaders, they shut down their WhatsApps, they don't use Eventbrite anymore, they bring everything into us, they're promoting us on social media without us even having to pay them. So they're like our ambassadors. And now we've got thousands of these community ambassadors that love what we're doing, and it's all from building that relationship. So I'd say, like, with early user acquisition, try and use it as a learning curve. Try and actually speak to these users, because you don't want someone to find out about the app in the early stages, and then you don't really know why they've downloaded it, where has it come from, and like what are they looking to do, and it can really help you build the rest of the app as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was such a nice touch on your app, that you're confident enough in it to force the user to do all of it before you can use it.
Yeah.
I thought that was so refreshing to see. I mean, I begrudgingly did it because I wanted to see your app in more detail. So it's like, upload a profile photo, and I'm like, always no.
Yeah.
But in your guys' case, I can't get into the communities until I have uploaded that.
There's a reason for that as well. Is like, why we've made it like so many processes is so we get the actual users that want to come through.
The right people.
So we were losing, let's say, 12% of the users that wouldn't sign up. And that's okay, because the users that we're going through is really, that's what we wanted. Like, the app will be ready in the next couple of weeks for super scale. And you'll see the difference of how easy it is to sign up, how easy it is to join an event and a club. And like, the difference is crazy. And that's because we've like maybe took 40,000 data points and understood where people are pressing, what they're doing, and what people try to do, especially in tech. They're like, let's build this sexy app with all these features. You build them and then realize 60% don't even work. 20% the users don't even know what to do with them. And then you're like, we just spent 500 grand on this. And then you're like, okay, well, now we need stripping it. We're just like, I'm going to build something super small, and we just keep going. So like, now we're so confident, like, our go-to-market strategy in our app, just because we've done those little things.
Yeah, I think as a founder, you can be so tunnel vision to be like, my idea is the best. These are the features everyone's going to use. Everyone's going to love it. And then you get the downloads and you realize stuff isn't being used. I think you've really got to reiterate on that feedback and get as much of it as you can. It's not building it for us. Yeah, the idea came from us and it was a problem that we were facing, but it's also a problem that the world is facing. So we need to build it for those people.
So would you say some of the changes that you're making to the app now are responsive to feedback you've had from customers?
Yeah, you should see our WhatsApps, right? Our first maybe 500 users all have our WhatsApps, and right now that's maybe not the best thing to have, but like they like, okay, there's even a better example. Like, when they have an issue, they'll say, we'll fix it. Like, they'll text me saying, don't worry, we'll fix it. Like, I'm fixing it, but they feel like they are part of it because we've took them through to the journey, and we absolutely love them. I know their names. I could tell you all of their names, and we text them and we say like, look, I'm teasing out this feature. I'm going to show you what it is. And they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah. Like, this is not coming for another like 4 months. And they feel really, and they'll tell their friends like, this is coming. So yeah, I feel like you have to you just need 100 people that absolutely love you. Like, I feel that the Airbnb guy said that as well. He said, don't focus on 1,000, just get 100 people that absolutely love you. And we got these, like, some ambassadors are just like crazy for ClIQ. Like, they shout about it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's a testament that the community app has its own community of people.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's what we've really tried to build, is like, how do we as well build our own community of people building communities? So doing things for them. Because I think when you go to create a community, you're like, okay, I want to meet people. And then very quickly you become an event organizer and you're not actually actively meeting people anymore. You're stressing about everything that's going on. If we can provide experiences for them, so we do like events with them where they can network with each other. We help them with things. We get them brand deals. We promote them on social media. Just like be a friend. They don't get that. So it's like, how do we build this amazing community? And then they keep the users happy. We don't need to keep all the users happy if the community leaders keeping them happy. Because if the community's like, no, I don't care if you don't like this feature, I'm running my community on there, you're not going to leave. You still want to be part of the run club. So if we keep them happy, it just makes our life so much easier.
Makes sense. Jason, you alluded to earlier when I asked you about your budget that you guys had raised money or you'd received money. Can we talk a little bit about how much you've raised and if you intend to try and raise any more?
Yeah, so we split into two parts. It was the first 250k, which is SEIS. So like that's like the best thing to get right now, because obviously it's like tax efficient for investors. So they get like 40% back. And kind of like pre-seed now in our first company was like, you could raise like £1 million for an idea on a napkin. What has now changed, and even being second time founders, is that I kind of see that pre-seed's gone. Like it's never like pre-product, pre-idea now. It's like post-product. Like now you show me you've got 10,000 users and now that's but that's not really pre-seed. That was before, that was like seed. So it's definitely harder now to like get capital before you even start. But yeah, we raised 250 and then that built our first like native product. And then we raised another 250 to like build out the team. And then that was really part crowdfund. So this was an element, because our users loved us so much, we were like, okay, let's get them to invest. So our first 500-600 users all put in between like 10 and 20 pounds, which is, in anyone's words, is a lot of money to invest anyway. But now they're along for the journey. They're invested in a social app which they're using. Why would you leave? If I'm hopefully seeing the growth, I'm part of the growth, and I'm going to succeed in the future by investing a small or big amount of money. So we did that, and it was just amazing to bring our users across on that journey, really. And now, yeah, so raised 550 in total of that, a pre-seed round, let's call that. And now we're raising $1 million with about 30-40% that confirmed, and we only just opened that 2 weeks ago.
And how does that look? How is that shaping up? Is it angels? Is it VCs? Is it crowdfunding again? How does it look?
Strategic angels, I think for us is that we have bias, but like some great angels. Like one sold her business to SoundCloud, who opens up doors to like artists and DJs building communities. There's our lead investor, who's actually our director of strategy, like sold a huge recruitment company at once, was like 1,000 people. So when you sit down with him, you're like, okay, we're building out this team and it's going to be 20 people by the end of the year. He will tell you like what you're going to struggle with before you even know it. And that is saving you endless headaches and money, time. So we kind of always find like pockets where we're lacking. Maybe be technical, we'll get a technical investor, we'll get in like a recruitment to help us like build out tech. So that's kind of what we've done.
Yeah, and I think what we've learned just along the way is people are everything, and getting the right people, especially investors, because they're putting their hard-earned money into your business and they're required an exit or return at some point. So they're invested, but also the pressure of that is so high because you're playing with people's emotions and people's money. So I think it's all about finding the right investors that align with, one, your values, two, your mission. I think with ClIQ, like even if you haven't been in a situation where you need to meet people, maybe your brother or sister or your mother or your son or daughter has, like everyone can relate to ClIQ in some way. And the way that we branded ClIQ isn't, you're lonely, download this app and swipe through people and meet people. It's literally for anyone to download at any stage of life, no matter what they're looking for. So it's so relatable to so many people, which why I think it appeals so much to investors.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask, because you aren't the first entrepreneurs we've had on here who have preferred to have strategic angels rather than VCs. I think you've slightly answered why you'd prefer to have angels over VCs. But I think what might be useful for people at home is to understand how you go about finding these kinds of angel investors.
LinkedIn. You need to get on LinkedIn. You need to be sending like hundreds of connections a week to anyone, and being like really active on LinkedIn as well. So posting, because I think what's so great about LinkedIn is I can message you and I'm directing your inbox on your phone. You click on me, you can see everything about me, profile, everything. Whereas sending cold emails, they've got to then go and research you and find out about you. They literally get everything within their inbox. So yeah, I think I've probably sent God knows how many LinkedIn connections. Obviously, half of them don't even get opened or accepted. And then you've got to think half of them do, and then some of them come back. Then you've got the second message, then you've got the pitch, and it whittles down to probably like 5 out of those 200 connections that you've sent are actually interested in seeing the pitch or having a conversation with you. But you forget about the rest. Investing is very much a numbers game. You've got to send it to a lot of people. And you've also got to get a lot of feedback, I think, especially in those early days, maybe when you haven't pitched before or even put together a pitch deck, and just get yourself in front of as many investors as possible.
People are scared of that as well. Like the perfect pitch, or I need to wait for the perfect investor. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, a few of our investors, you just wouldn't know they had money, if that made sense. They don't like huge on LinkedIn. They're just connected through, and people buy from people. So our investor, when he invested, he opened it up and found 5 of his friends to invest. And that's how it happens. It's like, oh, what are you up to? Like, oh, I invest in this cool app. What is it? And like, we managed to raise like another bit just from that. So yeah, it's definitely a numbers game. It's hard.
And I think even if someone says no, like, 1, get their feedback, but 2, ask if they know anyone that would be interested, and just get connections that way and start building it yourself.
Okay, so now that you have raised the money, more than £500,000, I think it'd be useful to talk about how you actually go about managing that money. How you decide how long to make that money last and what things you want to accomplish with the money. Could you expand a little bit, Jason, on how you guys decide what practices you adopt on a day-to-day basis to make sure the cash flow stays in control?
Yeah, I think when you're looking for investment, you always want to look at a minimum of a year. So that's like the minimum. The sweet spot is like 16 months. You want it to last you. So when we're looking, we're like, okay, we need it to last a year. And what do we want to achieve here? Because if we're still going to need to raise at the end of that, we need to prove a lot here to prove that why would I now invest at a higher valuation and maybe 3-4 times more money, and what have you proven? So for us with the first one, like before we even raised, it was like, okay, let's just prove users will use the app. The second time, it was like, once we've got this money in, we now need to prove that now we can monetize an app without needing 1 million users. So almost like proving these small things down the line. And it was like, okay, we had a CTO from thing at the very beginning, and it was like, do we go and do that? And it's like, this guy's probably going to cost 150 grand a year. It's like, we don't really need that. Like, it just looks great on a pitch deck, but if I can prove I can make 50, 60K a month, that's better. So we just did everything really lean.
I don't mean to interrupt, but of course, you're from a technical background, right? You manage the product and the technical side, and you manage the marketing and the branding. That leaves the finance aspect. Has there come a time now where you've had to bring in specialists to help guide the use of that money and where it's spent?
Yeah, we have had a fractional kind of like CFO come in and help with like forecasting, budgeting, stuff like that. But most of it day to day does rely on us as founders. And I think you have to prioritize. And it's quite a hard decision being like, okay, I've got tech, I've got team, I've got marketing, and then you've got all your random expenses. What do I want to prioritize? And for us, marketing budget just went out the window because we're like, what is the point in spending £100,000 on ads if it's going to drive it to an app that's not sticky and not one that we know is the finished product? I know it's never going to be the finished product. We want it to be in a good place before we start driving that. So like now with this raise, we'll prioritize tech and team. Next raise, we can prioritize marketing. So it's all about figuring out, I think, what you can prioritize and making sure that's clear within like your spreadsheets and your budgeting, your forecasting, and stick to that. Yeah, things come up along the way and you can test and learn and try things. But I think as well with tech, you kind of know how much it's going to cost. Right. So you can put that
Founders have to know, right? Like you have to know your money. Like for us we have to do every single job that anyone else can do. So when we bring them in, I can basically say to them like, I used to do this. Like our first employee didn't understand that I used to do that. I used to do the like outreach and the thing, and I'm still doing it, and I'm not afraid not to do it either. But it makes them like, oh, they're doing it. I thought they just hired me for me to do it. I'm like, no, I'm with you. I'll do it. So like understand our finance is just something that we need to get, because that is business at the end of the day. And if we can, then you're explaining to people giving me, if it's £20 or £200,000 investment, they want to understand, can you manage this money correctly? Do you know how much it's going to cost? And we go down to like, each month we'll sit down and be like, okay, where can we take a risk?
Yeah, what can we get rid of here? Like, maybe we spent too much on this, and we've got these random subscriptions we didn't even know what happened. Like, really like looking granularly into it, because for all you know, the money's gone. And like, money doesn't last forever, especially in those early days where you need to build the tech and all these things that are quite expensive. It doesn't last a lot of time, and you think like £500,000, like wow, it actually goes so quick.
That's when you see that companies who raise like there's a few companies that started similar to like £5 million they burned through in like 2 years. You think like, we've raised 10% of that and done 10 times more. It's like, more money doesn't mean more success. It's actually, you're just thinking a lot better. So like, if we had £5 million investment, like maybe we wouldn't understand the community and the users like we would, because we had to really understand them. Like, how are they connecting? Who are they? What's the demographic? Where I can afford to waste 300-400 grand on ads, and then we'll figure it out, because it's just
I think as well, when you're stuck with no money on marketing, it requires you to be more creative, which in return is so much better, because you think outside the box and you do different things. Whereas if you're like, oh, you got 500 grand to spend on marketing this year, easy, just give it to an agency, you do it. You don't have to do anything, you're just managing what they're doing. Whereas when you don't have the money, you're like, right, I need to think, how am I going to get users? How are we going to keep them? What can we do at a low cost?
Yeah, well, this is perfect transition to me wanting to ask you about how you've managed to do that, particularly, you know, not being able to stick as big a budget on it as maybe you would like.
Yeah, I think the main thing is those community leaders. So getting them to love the product, getting them to come on board. Now as well, we're getting a lot of influencers creating their own communities. So I think influencers now are thinking, okay, I have this massive audience, have 400,000 followers. It's not translating into sales with brands anymore. Because I think as a customer, I need to see an influencer post something probably 10 times before I'm going to purchase it. Because I know how much that influencer's probably been paid. I'm like, I know that's probably like 10 grand a post. Why would I then buy that product? Whereas influencers first came out, as soon as influencers posted, probably like, oh my gosh, I need it. Whereas now your peers and community is so much more valuable to get those real reviews. So influencers now are thinking, okay, I've got this massive audience. How do I translate that into a community? So we've got loads of influencers now that have like a run club, go on, that's a social club, book club, loads of different things. And one, it's that in-person element for them, but it's another revenue stream for them. So events and memberships, but then also brands are now thinking, okay, I want to get in front of her, but I also already want to get in front of her audience. So now we probably have like 20 to 30 influencers, really, really big ones, promoting ClIQ constantly without us having to spend a penny. Typically, these influencers will cost thousands and thousands of pounds a post, but they're doing it for free because they're using ClIQ. Yeah, and they're using ClIQ to manage. So we go to them and we're like, you want to start a run club? Okay, great. How are you going to manage that? You don't want to be sat managing multiple different platforms. Just manage one thing with ClIQ. And also you get the team, us, to lean on. And then also this brand piece is so exciting for them. So getting a lot of traction through community leaders, influencers, and then organic social, just trying to push as much into our organic social channels. Now people want shareable content. They want to have something that's memorable. So really thinking about that. But also if we post about a community, they're more likely to repost it. So utilizing what we've already got and that user generated content that we already have as much as possible for our content, which in return drives users.
Yeah, no, I've checked out your guys' content and it's great. And I'm wondering, you know, are you guys doing that yourselves? Are you bringing people in to help you with that stuff?
So social channels is done between the team, but we also have a videographer as well who creates that kind of more eye-catching content. We've learned a lot with content. I think you do have to test so many different things to see what works and relates to the audience. I've had ones that have absolutely flopped that you spend so much time on and you're like, why?
And one got millions of views.
And then one that was so quick and it got millions of views and I'm like, what? But it's just realizing what people want and what the audience wants and creating that eye-catching content now.
But going back to like the first question is like, well, the question before is that when we went to an agency and we sat around the table with them and said like, we're just going to lose 10 grand just by like testing. And it's like, you what? Like we're not losing 10 grand here. Yeah. Like, how is this possible? So it was like, why don't we do it?
We'll just test.
We
know
just
what
test
works.
all these.
And now we can take our socials to them. Like, we've been doing this for the past 6 months organically. This is what works. This is how much we've grown. How do you amplify that? And how do you see what contents work? So many people go to like an agency with loads of money, haven't even got the brand yet. They've not really posted. They don't have anything to go off. So everyone's just guessing. Whereas we're like, how can we just test as much as possible now? So then when we do raise this money, we know exactly what to do with it.
Also, like growing too fast sometimes can be like the downfall. So like if we got 1 million users this week, would actually probably be bad because it's not set up. The app's not ready. Everything's not ready. Like when we first launched ClIQ, there was a different logo, there was a different branding. And we spent time in being like, okay, what does this mean now? There needs to be brand guidelines. Okay, that makes sense. Once we do this tech in the next 4 weeks, like this can scale to 1 million users in a day. And like, it's going to look so much better. And then we can scale. Like, we're not worried then, but for everything now, we've been trying not to grow.
Yeah.
It's just like, just let it like do its thing. Don't like
learn.
push too much.
Yeah, learn as much as possible.
And how much importance do you put on your personal brands?
Yeah, a lot now. With the first business, we didn't really do it, did we? I think in a way, it was a little bit scared. It can be quite scary putting yourself out there. I'm always like, I can push the business as much as possible. As soon as my face, there was just a bit of scarcity. And then this business, we were like, we both need to get over that and just do it. Because we're seeing all these amazing brands, all these amazing founders doing so well because of that personal brand as well. So now we really do allocate quite a decent amount of time in terms of content and podcasts, interviews, panels, all of that kind of stuff to build that personal brand, because people buy from people. Every time I see a cool brand now like this, I'm like, I want to know who owns it. Just straight away, I think everyone's like that. And the more that you can build that personal brand, it helps your brand. But then there's that fine line between like what's taking up more time. So I think as long as it's not taking over your brand, you should really find time to prioritize it.
They want to know the why, right? Like, why are we doing it? Like, the amount of people like, why are you building this? Like, it's interesting to know like why people do the things they do. So like, yeah, we try and tell the story as much as we can. And obviously being in a couple and telling what it's like on a Saturday night, we'll just be working and then find ourselves like laughing, like, what are we doing? Like,
the first thing people ask us about anything is like, how do you work as a couple? I could never do that with my partner. We literally get it every single time. People are so invested in like how you've done things, how you've built it, how you've got there, but also like how you're going to drive it forward.
It's also really not like, it is hard to build a business, but like when you like lay it out as 100 steps, like really like the first 10 steps are so easy. Like, it's just the name, buying a domain, like figuring out, can you get the Instagram? Like once you've done that, you're like, okay, like I've already done step 10, and you're like figuring out, okay, what does that look like? And yeah, like buying the domain and the trademark was like, okay, we're in. Like that's it, we've got the name now. But it's just it's really small step. It just feels really daunting. Like for us going, like if I said, oh, we're like 100,000 users and using it all the time, that would feel so daunting. Like how do you get them to do that? But like first, how do I get first 10, 100,000, then it comes?
Yeah, and we're really trying to like take people along for the journey with us. There's so many exciting things that happen. Like I've learned all this knowledge. If I can just share it with someone and one person takes something from it, then that one makes you feel so good and you've gave something back. And I think not enough people do that. They built these amazing businesses and you don't even know what they look like. You don't even know who they are. I'm like, you've learned so much and been through so much. That could actually really help people.
Also, like, we always laugh about how when we met the guy who acquired our business, it was worth like 500 million, whatever. You think these people are gods. Like, you think, oh my God, can I even sit in the room? He's just like us.
Normal person.
He just took like really big risks. Like, I find really big risks in great people. So like, every person who's successful, they've took a hell of a lot of risk. And then they have like 10 really, really great people around them, like whether that be like the partners or their team. And then you're just like, actually like, you're not really like, you're expecting like, can you give me one nugget of advice, what it is, and actually just risking.
Yeah. And it's so much more relatable as well. When you meet a founder and you're like, oh my God, they're a normal person that's just gone for it and like didn't let anyone get in the way of that. I think it's just so nice to see that behind all these big businesses, it is just normal people at the end of the day. We're not like super humans. We are like everyone else.
Unless you're Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, that's different.
One of the things, of course, that might be slightly more challenging being a couple and a co-founder pair is when you start to look at hiring your team beneath you. Of course, are you a single pair and things like that. Have you seen the fact that you're a couple make any difference to the culture in ClIQ as a team, or is the culture something different and something intentional that you input into the company?
Yeah, I think that we're very conscious of like not being a couple at work. So you kind of keep that coupley side of you away from it. And I think that's really important because you want to want people to feel comfortable around you. You want it to be professional. But then so many people love that we are a couple because we work so well together. We've got such a good relationship. And like our lead investor said to us, every time you do a pitch for an investor meeting, make sure you're both there because we bounce off each other and we tell such a good story. Whereas if it's just one of us, it's never the same. So I think so many people love that we're a couple. We've had a lot of people that are like, what? You guys are a couple? You got business? That's never going to work.
That's some big investors
prenup, all these things. Like big investors have been like burnt before by couples. I'm like, just because it didn't work for that one business doesn't mean it don't work for everyone. Like you can't stereotype it. So I think in people's minds, it's very much you either love it or you hate it and you're quite against it, which I don't mind. I'm like, if you hate it, you don't need to be part of the team and you're not going to invest in us. And like, we don't really want you around. It's all about these people that do love that element that we are a couple.
Yeah, I just think I think more teams, not as a couple, but should have a male and a female at the top of the table because I think just building not just a social app, but imagine all the companies, the way that you sit there at university or whatever it is, you sit there and you see it from a male and a female perspective. Like, trust me, the decisions you make as a company are just so different. Like, I didn't know the amount of safety features we needed to build until we sat down and we was like, okay, how do you use it? What did your DMs look like from like guys? Like when you go on holiday, like you'll get flooded with DMs for like being in the country. And again, like,
What's going on? Something's wrong here.
so it's just all this thing.
So let's talk about, just conscious of time a little bit, let's talk about hiring as well. Because of course you let us in on that story that when you guys started off, you made a hire based off a very impressive resume with a chap who didn't end up working out and it was quite costly for you. So for the people out there who are building their businesses and maybe they're at the point where they're looking at employing the first few people into their team, what's the most important piece of advice you could share as to how to choose who works with you? Jason.
Culture. 100%. Like I would much rather have someone who's not been at Apple, Disney or wherever they've been and they've got the crazy resume rather than someone who's like super hungry and just understands the mission because startups are so different. Like there's more hard days than there is good, but the good days are great. So yeah, obviously hiring this guy and he came in and he was unbelievable, like a great developer. But like he would just not understand the dynamics of a small team and how one day I said this, but now I've seen the data and we're pivoting like that. It's like, whoa, no, this is going to take like 6. No, we move like this. This is how you do it. He just didn't understand it because he'd been in corporate for like 15 years. And then when we hired, so yeah, I think our advice is like, you hire slow and you fire really fast. So as soon as you get that gut feeling, it's like, this is not right. It has to go. Like we do this thing, like I'll find the people and then I interview them and then take them to you and you like within like 10 seconds, you'll be like, yeah, no. Because that's this real like,
Okay.
if you just go on like this real thing where
Slow to hire, quick to fire.
yeah, it's just like,
That's the roles.
yeah, just really like, even like our lead investor now will say something to me and be like, should I ask like Nicola to like go over this? And as long as she say yeah, it's fine because like it's just a different, it's like a different environment. Like I don't know, it's just like you understand.
Yeah, I think it's all about that gut feeling. Like you know as soon as you meet someone, and it can be very hard when you're putting job adverts out there and you get hundreds applications. You've got to filter through them. Very difficult. We always find that people come to us. So like our first ever hire, Ella, who's our marketing lead, she actually built one of the communities on the app. So we're talking to her on a daily basis. She built like a girls walking group, which she scaled nationwide. And it just turned to a point where we had a conversation. She was like, oh, I'm really looking for a job. I want to get into community. I was like, work for us? I was like, I don't need to see your resume. I don't need to see what you did at university. I don't care. Like you've built something that is so valuable to us. You know how to start a community. You know how hard it is. You can relate to people and you know what to do. And you already use the app. I don't need to sit there and teach you how to use it. So that worked out so well. And then with the next hires that we're thinking about, I've just got so many people in mind that I've met along the way that I've just got a really good vibe for that already love ClIQ. So it's just kind of a no-brainer.
People do come to us all the time. Like the amount of like people we have recommended to us or want to join the mission, like all they talk about is like, I want to be part of this. Like, how can I do it? They'll do anything. Like they work for free for like a couple of weeks just to do it. So we kind of filter through that way. But yeah, I think you just know, you just got to trust your gut feeling when you meet someone. It is. And also like your first 5 hires are so important. Like they'll change, like one bad apple will literally corrupt the whole team. Like he was getting to a point, like we were just like, this was bad for a month, wasn't it? It was like a month, and we were like, where's that? He's going. Monday's gone. Like that's it. And like after that, the team was just so much better. Like everyone's like, oh my god, thank God. And like that, and it just made the team. And now we're so conscious that like, if I meet them, you meet them, and then we'll get like one of the team to like, what do you think? Like, just go and grab a coffee with them, and like, what do you think? Because it's just about, you spend some long hours together. Like sometimes we work, and obviously we do tell them to work to like 5:30, but and some days we'll get to like 8 p.m. and we're all there just like working on something, and then we're like, oh my god, like it's like 9 o'clock, like what's happening?
That's the people that you want. I think startup's so different to corporate. Startup, they've got to be okay with that it's going to be very scrappy, no day's going to be the same, you don't have a clue what's happening.
And it's 7 days a week, like we tell people like, you're gonna get rewarded, but if you put in what we, like, I'm not saying to work like me, but we tell them it is going to be some days like I might have to text you at like Saturday or Sunday to do something. Like if our lead developer comes in, like this is 24/7. If I call you, you're going to need to answer. And someone will be like, no way. But you'll get the people being like, yeah, I'm in. And also you're going to get rewarded down the line. So it's up to you.
Outside of maybe polishing off a LinkedIn post or an email, how does AI fit into ClIQ?
Yeah. So this is like my like favorite product thing that's happening. So I feel like everyone's tried to build AI before they even know what they're building. So we was like, we're not building, all investors like, what are you putting AI in? And now because we have so much data points, we know what to build and we know what users are searching. So there's been 40,000 searches in the search bar, and we've understood like what people are searching for. So now it'll be, instead of scrolling, it'll just be, I'm in London this weekend, family event on £20 in fitness. And it will find you from your gender, your age, and say I'm following Nicola, then it will find me events that she's going to as well. So like, it'll start to understand like what you go to and who your friends are going. And then, so that's just really just like an easy search. And we're only building 2 products. One is search, that one, and then one's a community co-pilot. So this will work as scheduling posts for the community leader. It will find brands for them. So we have brands like they want to give away 10,000 products to this kind of demographic. It will go straight to there. So it just works in the back end for them. 2 products. Like we don't need to go and overload it too much, but yeah. It's like be launching in the next like 3 months.
Yeah, and the second one just makes people's lives so much easier. So they don't need to think about, I need to upload that event tonight, or I haven't done this, I haven't done that. It does everything for them, which in return frees up their time to create more events, create more content, do more, which in return gives us more users. So the more admin pressure we can take off the community leaders is key for us.
Or even talking about, okay, there's an unmasked community, people with neurodivergent and like autism and all these things. We've sat with hundreds of those and understood like why they had to turn it off, because the notifications were too much. So we built something where if there's over 20 messages, then it will give them a newsletter to tell them what's happened that week. So they won't even need to read it. They'll just get this like newsletter of like, everyone was chatting about this. They talked about this medication. Have you heard of this before? So they're still getting updated, because they were getting bombarded with like notifications.
It's quite overwhelming being in a group that's so active. You're there on your phones going off constantly. Like it's such a good thing, but for a lot of people that could be quite overwhelming. So thinking about different ways that we can appeal to different people.
With regards to using AI in your business, just to help people understand behind the scenes a little bit, is it a very expensive undertaking?
To build?
To kind of add to your product?
It can be. I think people overcomplicate it. Like, I think now everything's just AI, like drink brand, right? It's just like, they're just making it up. They don't even know what they're building. And like, when I asked some of my friends, like, okay, what's your AI? They would just like give me a long-winded answer. And I was like, you just got search, right? Like you just made the search a bit better. And so for us, it's really cheap. I think what people need to do is build like native, like Web 2 where first, to understand, and then be like, okay, how do we like amplify this? Because we were seeing community leaders were taking 5 minutes to input an event, and that's way too long. So like if we can the AI can start to see as they're like, and already like copy events and do these things, that's just going to make it easier.
Yeah,
but you don't understand that until you have the data. And then probably in like our workflow is like, we'll just have like Gemini on like for like meetings, and it'll just pull our stuff. But really basis. ChatGPT is.
Yeah, there's a lot of free
There's another
tools.
co-founder, ChatGPT. He's our co-founder.
Gotcha. Right.
The third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just constantly like we don't tell like it's not called ClIQ, like we call it something else. But like we literally feed it like everything to see like what we can put in. It just makes
I
it
think with
easier.
AI, you just learn to be cautious of like it not looking like
We call
AI.
it like 60-20-20. So like you input AI with 20%, you get 40% back, and then you put 20% back in. So it's like you put yourself back. You won't see an email and look like it's been generated by AI. It's been partially, but then it's been put in with us. Because then I think that's like how we tell our team is like 20, 40, 20.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than getting an email and as soon as you read the first sentence, I'm like, well, that's AI. Like you just know straight away, don't you? 'Cause it's words that people wouldn't normally use. So you've got to have that human element to it.
But for me, like I'm like dyslexic. Like my writing is just terrible. Like it's made me so quick at emails. Like I'm just like I get through so much more work just by having that.
Yeah.
And
I used to be the email writer before.
I actually
ChatGPT came out like, can you write this email for me?
Yeah,
Can you make sure it makes sense? Now I've got ChatGPT and my job's much easier.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's move on to because it's all very promising, right? ClIQ's going very well. You've raised money. You're raising more money. You're signing up lots of people, new influencers, and things like that. So every founder who's listening to this is thinking like, why them, not me? My business is going so shit. Can you give us a bit of insight into where are your weaknesses? What's hard? What's the most challenging thing for you, Nicola, running this business?
Oh, tough question. I think one of the hardest things is motivating yourself. I think people don't see that side. I think founders are massively glamorized. Like owning a business is amazing. You see us doing all these really cool things, podcasts, whatever it is, all the successful stuff. And yes, because I only show that successful stuff on social media. I'm not going to show myself crying in the corner because I'm having a mental breakdown because something's gone wrong. Like you just wouldn't show that. But there's so many of those moments. And I think it is just picking yourself back up and going again is one of the hardest things. Because when you're a founder, you're the only person that can motivate you. Like Jason can only motivate me a certain amount. It is really down to me to get up in the morning and get on that laptop. And yeah, you're still going to have those days where you're like, I really can't bothered. But I think it's having that mission behind you and reminding yourself that it's those 1% every single day that do add up. You don't have to have like 100% day all the time. You can just find those small wins. But I think, yeah, the hardest part about being a founder is actually doing it.
Yeah.
Really.
Turning up.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think like this is the thing that we'll go to like parties or we'll go meet friends and they're like, oh my God, ClIQ looks like it's like growing really
You're
fast.
You're killing it.
And we're like, yeah, it is. But also like last year I had a stroke at like 30 years old. And I'm like, it was because I was like working so much and it actually like burnt me out. And like luckily because I was still like training and I was fit to a point, it was like I bounced back in like 24 hours. But like it was really me like fully, like there was a lot of like hard days where investment was pulling out. We were growing way too fast than we could have done. Like we were just sat on the laptop like trying to code like at night, just trying to figure stuff out. Like no one sees that. No one saw that. And like just like literally
Yeah, I think
24.
that was like a pivotal moment for us to be like, wow, I think we're doing too much, not prioritizing ourselves and our well-being. Like you can still be as busy, but look after yourself. And I think we forget about that looking after ourselves, just switching down the laptop and going for like a 15-minute walk. Like the business isn't going to burn down in 15 minutes. Going to the gym, all these things, spending time with friends. If you don't do any of that, then it's prime example of it can massively backfire on you.
I think it also made our business better. Like, not saying the stroke was like a bit of it.
You could have find the positives and everything, haven't you?
Add to the to-do list. Have stroke.
But the thing was like, you have those moments where like, oh my God, I need to stop. Or like, I'm like, this is it. Like, I want to do more of this. But I just figured out I need to rest there a bit more. It wasn't like, oh my God, like I'm working too hard. It was just, you don't think of it. Like we work so much. And we just love it, but like
it just becomes normal.
Yeah.
I think like your new normal becomes like this. Every time I see a friend, they're like, "Oh my God, you're so busy," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I love being busy. And if I'm not busy, then I'm like, what the hell am I?"
There's even an
gonna
example
do?
like we were like really like growing again fast like last month, and we had like a wedding and a retreat, and we was like, I don't know if we should go, and we went on both, and one was like a founder retreat, and obviously a wedding. And then came back and the business was like it's literally like 10 times better. Like
There's so many more
it's
opportunities
literally
for
growing.
stepping
Like
away.
what we have right now and the brands that are coming in is literally 10 times. It's ridiculous. And what we said it was is just maybe every quarter we just need to take the weekend. And we just had no Wi-Fi for a whole weekend.
Yeah, I think people get scared of taking time off. And we've always been like that until probably what happened with Jason. We were like, no, we need to prioritize our own time as well. Because also if you're not enjoying it and you're not doing fun things along the way and you just don't have a life, what's the point?
Yeah.
We're only this young once, like we've got to live it and do the things that we enjoy doing, but also while still working on the business. And it's very achievable to do both. Yeah, you're going to have weeks where you're like, okay, maybe I can't see my friends this weekend because it's a really, really busy week. But maybe you have a bit more downtime the next week, then you're like, I could prioritize that. It's all about just prioritizing what's important. And it doesn't have to be important for the whole entire of the business. It can just be week by week or day by day.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. It's something that founders and a lot of hardworking professionals struggle with. You know, in my 13 years of working, I've never been on holiday without my laptop, you know, and it's like, it's a weird mentality. But obviously going through what you guys have been through, it sounds like you're very conscious now to try and manage that burnout.
The laptop still goes.
Yeah, 100%.
We don't look at it as much, but it
100%.
has to be there. That's also another co-founder is the laptop.
Yeah, totally. Because you've obviously mentioned now that you're conscious of burnout, and you've also mentioned that your staff are also sort of a similar mindset to you guys, right? They love to work hard. They're happy to work the long hours. Do you also keep an eye on them and just try and sort of remind them, hang on a minute, let's not go too hard?
I think it made us like definitely treat it a little bit different. Like all our friends even around us, like we told them take a minute. Yeah. But I think like we've got an advisor and she's the first mental fitness coach for Nike, called like Myra Chora. I don't know if you've ever seen her. She's a visualization coach, unbelievable. And she like says these phrases, and I'm probably gonna get it wrong, but it's like, you know, like farmers where they like sow, harvest, grow, like in the seasons. She's saying this is what athletes do. So they have their like pre-season, they have their season, and they have their rest. That's what we should be doing as founders. So she's like, in some months, like in now, Glastonbury's next week, this is kind of like our like relaxing season. Then when we come out of this, it's like fully go. So like we have seasons where we really go to the metal and like look, like there's no days off, there's like 12 13-hour days, and that is like what has to be done. And then there's a season where we like sow for the next like couple of months, and then we let it grow, and then we harvest those. Like is that said right? I feel like I butchered it, but like
I think that's right.
I hadn't heard it, so I feel inspired.
Yeah.
Even if you butchered it, I like it.
Yeah, but that's kind of like what we try and like lead is that and I think what the team realizes that we're working 10 times as hard as them as well. So like I think it's important for them to see that we would do exactly what they did. Like even the shitty jobs, right? Like just the boring jobs.
No one wants to do it.
I will sit and do it. And I will prove that I can do it. And then it makes them inspired, being like, oh, everyone's doing it. And like you can make those tasks feel like quite fun sometimes. But kind of just.
Okay, so you've got a healthy team, a healthy momentum behind the business, investors coming left, right, and center. Let's talk about now the exit strategy, if there is one. I said that like as if there was an exit strategy to make it dramatic. But of course, you've taken on investors, and investors want their investment back. And a business like yours, you've got the option, presumably, of creating a revenue stream that you can pay your investors back, or you look to have this business acquired by a larger company, maybe one that wants to complement their existing social media network. Nicola, could you just take me a little bit into your mindset as to how far are you looking ahead for the business when you're operating day to day?
Yeah, I think even with like financial forecast plans and stuff like that, you can't really do more than like 3 to 4 years. And people have like 10-year financial plans. I'm like, how the hell are you going to predict what's going to happen there? And like as a founder, you can't really predict what's going to happen next year. You're just hoping for it to happen. I think for us, we say like 4 to 5 years, we'd like an acquisition. We do know there's probably going to be a deal on the table sooner than that. Whether we take the deal or not is another question. 'Cause I think it's so hard to take that deal and then see what it can do without you. And I think because we're playing with the chance that, yeah, we can change billions of people's lives if we get it right, we can also make billions of pounds from it if we get it right. And seeing someone else do that would be very tricky. But I don't know, it's It's a hard one because you
we've
want to
been,
have
we've
an
been
exit,
offered
but
as well, like already. Like we was offered an opportunity to like have, wasn't like anything, but like it was like a company wanted to take ClIQ. They had a lot of money trying to build it, and they got to a certain amount of downloads and didn't really want to. They just wanted to take it, and they had the structure, and we thought about it for a day, and it was like no, because it was just like we just want to play this out, because it's like what we're gonna do next. But we genuinely believe that like this will just end up being acquired. Really, it would just take another player. What you want to do with social apps.
Well, you've got the advantage where you've had a business acquired already, right? So presumably as a pair of co-founders, if I'm an investor investing in you, I understand that you're going to build a business with the acquisition in mind. And that's helpful to know, and it's reassuring to know. Do the KPIs that you have to meet to secure further investment, that you want to achieve by the end of the year to get another investment round done, are they the same KPIs that you would try to achieve an acquisition? Does that make sense? Are they two different types of?
It depends on the market, right? It depends like what these like. Sometimes it's better to like, if this is a scene, it's better to sell your company here than it is to like sell it like up here. Just because like in that gap there, they don't know if it's gonna go like above that or smash that, and you don't know. But like, it depends what you want as well. Like we're like 30 now. Like if we do this for another 3 years, like we're only be 33, and like but then what? And like really for us is why don't we play it out another 2 years? And if it's 50 million, like, or you could go for 500. Like, wouldn't you just rather just like let's go for it? And if we go in between that, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think.
I mean, the funny thing is, of course, you'll sell this business whenever it is that you sell it. You'll go on holiday to celebrate, and you'll be on holiday with your co-founder. It'll be impossible not to come up with another idea.
That's the thing. Like, hopefully one day we will just sit on the beach and never do anything again. But I don't know if we will.
We always say we'd like to
We have
reinvest.
more money to do.
Reinvest, start up like a venture studio. Invest in
That's kind of the
startups.
dream.
So like yours, like female founders.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds like it could be an entirely new conversation, but we're going to have to draw it there. That was awesome. Really, really great. Thank you very much for your time, Nicola and Jason. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.